Welcome to this edition of the Impact Disciple Making Podcast. I'm Mike Keaton, your host, and we're so glad that you have joined us today. I get to visit today with Pastor Ken Adams, lead pastor of Crossroads Church, founder of Impact Ministries. And as always, Ken, it's a pleasure and it's great to be together as we get to talk and discuss and share some of our learnings with our viewers about disciple making in the context of a local church.
Yeah.
And that's really our heart, isn't it?
That
I mean,
is.
we're practitioners ourselves, trying to flesh it out in a local context. And that's ultimately our heart, is to come alongside you guys and help in any kind of way we can. And today, some of our discussions over the last several episodes, if you haven't caught those, I want to encourage you to go back and do so. But we have been discussing some of the details and specifics of disciple making and discipleship. And this specific one is curriculum. And how does all of that work together? And so we're kind of going over that with our impact process materials, so impact 1, 2, 3, and 4. And today we're going to be talking about impact 4. But you want to maybe lead us into that a little bit, Ken? Or
Yeah, that'd be great, Mike. We really hope for all these podcasts. We've been doing them for a while now, and we got a lot of episodes. You can go back and check on some other parts of what we're doing. We talk a lot about the mission of disciple making. We talk about the strategy. We talk about the environments of disciple making. I mean, we try to cover it from a lot of different angles. But I totally agree with what you said, that we really hope that we want to see it happen in the local church. And there's a lot of parachurch organizations that are really doing a better job of disciple making than even the church is, and that's concerning, because the church is the vehicle and the place that Christ designed for disciple making to be happening in. So we want to help churches figure out how do you come in and start a disciple making process, pathway. In fact, I say this a lot of times in our disciple making church seminar, which we do for churches, is that a church with discipleship is not necessarily a disciple making church.
That's a good distinction.
And so that's going to sort of bring us to what we're talking about today, because as we get people involved in our discipleship process, it actually becomes a pipeline to leadership.
That's right.
And a lot of times people say, well, I'm not ready to be a leader. I don't know enough to be a leader. I'm not equipped to be a leader. Think about this, man. Jesus, he didn't give his disciples everything they could possibly know. He just gave them what they needed to know to accomplish the mission and to accomplish the strategy. And so what I can tell you is that when you have gone through disciple making essentials and you have a foundation for growth and discipleship, and you have gone through impact 2, which is the character of Christ,
right,
and you have an understanding of what is the fruit of the Spirit, and when you have gone through impact 3 and you have an idea of what Christ-like conduct looks like, then what I can tell you is that you have what you need, not all that you could know, but you have what you need to know to be able to go out and lead. And that is impact 4.
That's great.
It's what we call 315 leadership. It's based on what I think is one of the best but least known leadership verses in the entire Bible. Comes right out of Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 15, where God tells Jeremiah, he says, I will give you shepherds. He's speaking to the people of Israel. He said, I will give you shepherds. And these shepherds are not sheep shepherds, they're people shepherds.
Right.
And he said, I will give you shepherds I will give you shepherds after my own heart, who will lead you with knowledge and understanding. And so, Mike, what we believe is that Jesus is the perfect example of a 315 leader. Is that he was basically, he spent 3 years making disciples that would be appointed as leaders.
That's right.
And they would go out really as 315 leaders.
That's right.
Leaders with the right heart, leaders with the right knowledge, and leaders with the right understanding. When you get all those together, you get the right results.
That's right.
And so this is not just there. There is a method, and there is meaning behind this curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And so we believe that if this curriculum gets you to this curriculum, then it is a recipe for making fully trained disciples that can become leaders of the mission and the movement of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the way it all flows together. It just fits so nicely, because all of this, you talk about all this time and discipleship going through these things, and this is just the natural outflow of that. It's like I've heard you say many times,
Absolutely.
Ken, is that leadership always starts with discipleship,
Mm-hmm.
and so in what church or ministry doesn't need more leaders?
That's right.
And so they've got to really ultimately be the result of discipleship.
Yeah.
And so I just love the way they all fit together.
Yeah.
And the beauty of Impact 4, the 315 leader training, is really, like we've mentioned in the past, about how the terminology shapes culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how that gets the DNA into the ones that you're discipling,
Right.
so they can go and lead it
Right.
and multiply it. Well, that's really what this is all about. Right?
Mm-hmm.
This really dives into
Yeah.
the methodologies of Christ.
Yeah, it does.
And how he did it.
Yeah.
And that's what you want your leaders
That's right.
multiplying out there.
That's right.
Yeah. So I love that.
Yeah. It's funny, Mike. Every church in the world has leaders, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're disciple-making leaders.
Right.
And how backwards is that to have leaders that don't necessarily line up with the mission? So if the mission is to make disciples, then we don't just need any kind of leaders, and we certainly don't need business leaders. We need disciple-making leaders.
The right kind of leaders.
Exactly. And disciple-making leaders come out of disciple-making.
That's right.
And so I think we've made something that's super simple, super complicated.
Yes.
And we don't have to do that.
Right.
And so we, the only thing I would say, Mike, about what we're doing here is that we we haven't been really working our process consistently enough and long enough. But in the time that we have, we clearly see the outcome being a community of leaders that are all aligned around the right process and the right product.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I think you and I would both agree on is that the leaders in our church that have come through our disciple-making process and have worked through this curriculum, that those leaders, man, they become champions for your church and for the mission of the church and for making disciples. And so honestly, a lot of churches do a lot of different things to develop leaders, but the best leadership comes out of discipleship.
That's right.
And so our 315 Impact 4 curriculum really is designed to do that. It takes about 9 weeks to walk somebody through that. And these lessons can be done weekly or they can be done monthly.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a little bit of flexibility of how you do this, but these lessons are designed very much like the other ones. There's a weekly guide that you work through with a discussion guide at the end. And so you could actually take a leader that is already started a group, maybe like Impact 1,
Mm-hmm.
and they could be going through 315 leadership as they're doing that, having a weekly group, but then meeting monthly over a period of 9 months
Right.
to go through this. So you can sort of make it fit whatever your methodology is or whatever your model is.
What fits you?
You can kind of make it fit.
Sure.
But it really is, the important thing is making sure that we are raising up leaders with a heart after God and that have the knowledge to lead like Jesus led and the understanding to lead like Jesus led. And this curriculum unpacks all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Having the right heart is not automatic. Not every leader automatically has a heart after God.
Right.
Nor is having the right knowledge automatic. Jesus knew how to lead, and he taught others what they needed to know. Jesus understood how to lead, and he taught others how to understand how to
Hmm.
lead.
Hmm.
And so none of that happens by coincidence or by accident. It has to be intentional.
Hmm.
And so, what Impact 4 does is that it creates a process that gives you intentionality about developing and raising up next level leaders, next
That's right.
generation leaders. And so, again, it'll work if you work it.
That's right. And to that intentionality, one of the things that, just to speak to the structure a little bit too, is that it's not, it does have a lesson, of course, but each lesson has a special project.
That's right.
There's a project that
Yeah.
each group should do in an
Yeah.
application of that lesson,
Yeah.
which is kind of unique to the other three
It
impact
is.
books. And
Mhm.
so that's just a great resource as well to
Yeah.
be intentional and to drive that intentionality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what we try to do is we try to come alongside churches and help them to do two things. One is that we want to help them to get really the big picture idea of what does it mean to be a disciple making church. So a disciple making church is a church that has a clearly defined target with a strategy that is consistent, with environments that are effective, and then raising up leaders that are going to drive all the above. And so, in these disciple making small groups, that's where they go through a set curriculum that teaches them the language
Mhm.
that drives all of the above. So this is the nitty gritty. This is where it really fleshes out, and where we see lives transformed and
That's right.
changed, which is makes it easy to appoint leaders. Mike, we say this a lot, that if you are making disciples, you'll have a you'll have a ready pool of potential leaders. And so then it's just a matter of picking the leaders, or selecting the leaders, when. And wouldn't it be interesting if you had so many leaders, potential leaders, that you had them in waiting?
Right. And
So
Q almost.
yeah, when
Right.
you needed them, right?
What a
When you
problem to
needed them
have.
to lead a team, or when you needed them to lead a small group,
Man.
or when you needed them to lead your church or go plant a church.
Mhm.
And so we have made this way too complicated, and if we just get back to doing it the way Jesus did, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
And so we do a disciple making church seminar to try to help churches get the big picture. We have developed disciple making curriculum to give people tools and resources. And then we have a disciple making pastors equipping group to help pastors get equipped and trained to be able to lead the church to be a disciple making church. So what we do at Impact Ministries is that we are really locked in on trying to help the church do exactly what Jesus started the church to do 2,000 years ago. And so we are trying to provide people with coaching and training and tools and resources to become better at fulfilling the mission of making disciples. I heard a story one time about a young guy that was playing video games, and his mom said, "I want you to go out and edge the driveway." And making a nice little edging on the driveway, and he went out and got him a shovel and started chopping up. And she said, "No, you're messing." She said, "I want you to go up to our neighbor's house, Mr. So and so. I want you to go look at how he does it and see how it is." So the young kid, the teenager, went up to this guy's house, and he brings him out, and he gives him not a round nose shovel, but a flat nose shovel, and takes him out, shows him how to do it, teaches him how to do it, and then sends him back to his house so that he can do it.
Mhm.
And so he had a model, he had training, and he had the right tools.
Mhm.
And so what we're trying to do at Impact Disciples is that we're trying to help people get the tools that they need, get the training that they need, get some examples and some models that they need, and really just come alongside churches so that they can do it if they get up off the couch and do it.
That's good. So if all of that sounds good to you, something related to some of the impact materials that we use, or some of the things Ken was just talking about with the seminars and things that we can come alongside you and build a connection to you and help you in your context, that's what we'd love to do. And so we definitely want to encourage you to go visit impactdisciples.com, where you'll find other episodes of this podcast to view, as well as plenty of resources and many of the things Ken just talked about.
So we do Facebook Live as well, so they can get a monthly.
Every month, Facebook Live. So
go like us on
catch.
Facebook.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining in today and viewing, and we will see you next time.